wonderful celebration of spirit. Thank you so much, Lisa. Today's topic is dealing with change. It's all about being present and blossoming in the ebb and flow. And I just have to point to the wonderful demonstration of this blossoming in action when just 2 minutes before we started this soundcast, the Zoomcast, Lisa had an audio problem that could have thrown her off, but it didn't. She felt it. I can only imagine what she was doing in her home, in the studio, pushing buttons, checking wires, and all that thing we do with these Zoomcasts. And then, it came time for the music, and she just delivered this beautiful a cappella version of the song that she no doubt had a wonderful piano part to. And it was the right and perfect way to start this day's celebration of blossoming in the ebb and flow and dealing with change and just being with what is. And whatever you did between that and the 10 minutes between that and just now delivering this last song when your piano part on your original song came through so freely and fully, it was wonderful, a beautiful demonstration of a true student in action. And I could just stop right there and say, that was my talk, and now let's meditate. But I've been invited to talk, and I love to talk, so I will. Because I want to take some time to be with you in the midst of these questions posed in our introduction. In the face of the ongoing ebb and flow of life's changes, how can we flourish and bloom? How can we find comfort in discomfort and be true to the truth of who we are? First of all, and most of all, I like to say that one answer to that question is that we're here. We're gathered as a community, and that's no small thing. In this time of increasing isolation in our culture, you have chosen to be here online and gather with a community of fellow truth students to explore some important questions and to remember that we are not alone. And this is huge. In a time, in a culture that focuses on the outer and on a sense of separation and domination of others in order to maximize a return on a quarterly report and to get more stuff and be more and do more, you and I have chosen to gather, to reflect, to turn inwards, to ask deep questions and listen for possible answers. I say possible answers because I don't have the answer, and the wonderful thing about the spiritual living community is that you don't pretend to have the answer either. That we open together to the possibility of infinite mind expressing through us, infinite intelligence unfolding through us and providing the answer in the moment. And it's so wonderful to feel that we're not alone, to feel our connection here this morning, to feel that wherever we are, whether here, online, on Sunday morning, or tomorrow morning at the office, or Tuesday night at the grocery store, we have the capacity to move beyond our small self into the larger self, into the divine self, and to all of creation, to tap into that higher power of our understanding, to the infinite mind, and to learn the lessons that life presents to us as it presents to us, and it continues to present to us. One lesson I've been sitting with recently that I wanted to share with you this morning is a lesson from the Biosphere 2. Some of you may be too young to remember, but back in the 80s, it was quite the big deal. The Biosphere 2 was a self-contained dome, actually a series of domes, but connected into one structure in southern Arizona. And this dome was designed as a fully self-contained, fully sustainable biosphere, totally separate from the rest of planet Earth. And this was a research facility designed to accommodate a crew of 8 people who would live in this space for 2 years, completely cut off from the rest of the world, and living in this carefully controlled and designed environment that was planted with just the right plants and trees, and had just the right structures to allow the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between people and plants to be in perfect balance, so that the crew could grow their own food, draw their own water from the atmosphere using the evaporation of their breath and recycling their bodily functions. And it was the science at its pinnacle. It was supposed to be a way of designing colonies on Mars and beyond, out in outer space. Well, you know where the story is going. Some of you already know that the design failed. And this dome is used twice, in 1991 and again in 1994 or something. And both times it failed for a variety of complex reasons that are still being puzzled over and analyzed all these years later. But at heart, one of the core challenges to this perfectly designed environment was that it was perfectly designed and there were no storms and no winter. Consequently, the plants and trees could not properly get rooted, nor could they be pruned themselves as they do in nature. Every time a storm comes through, leaves blow off, twigs blow off, whole big branches blow off, as in the storm we had a couple of weeks ago. We lost a couple of big trees in our neighborhood. And that's an integral part of the process. Self-pruning of the trees and the plants is an integral part of the growth process. Having winter, a time when the roots get challenged, or if it's in a desert environment, it's year-round that the plants are challenged and forced to deepen their roots to withstand storms, but also to draw water and nutrients from the tree. So no storms, no winter, no growth. That's the lesson that we as truth students, that I as a truth student am asked to examine. I cannot grow without living through the storms, the changes, and the challenges that have shaken me and shaped me. The absolute worst times in my life, and I won't enumerate them here, but I can think of 3 awful rock bottom moments in my life. 2 of my own doing, my own foolishness, and one just an auto accident. Each time I was brought right to the brink of the choice of life and death, and it was awful. And each one of those 3 experiences shook me to the core, and I thought I was fixing to die. And each one have proven to be the great blessings in my life. The opportunities for growth and change and nurturing that I could not have created on my own without having been shaken to the core this way, having experienced the winter and the storm. In the New Thought movement, there's a tendency to focus on growing toward the light, to seek transcendence, to move beyond the physical and reach for the metaphysical, for the enlightenment. And that's good, and as it should be. And it's an admirable goal for those of us on the path. But an integral part of growing toward the light, in my understanding, is learning to face and embrace the darkness, the shadow, the difficulties, both within and around us. I'd like to take a moment to address a real elephant in the room that we're all living with, and that is the stress and the low to high level anxiety that many of us feel on a daily basis regarding the rapid change in our society, especially in political change, economic change, and environmental change. This isn't a place or a time for political discussions, but clearly something's happening, not just in Washington, D.C., but in the capitals of governments all around the world, where there is a strong move of people of fear, seeking to control that fear by blaming immigrants, blaming economy, blaming weather patterns, blaming something out there as a problem that we need to declare as enemy in order to feel safe. And consequently, we just feel more and more fearful as a society. And we as individuals, whether we are aware of it or not, feel that anxiety, feel that we are vulnerable. We as humans are naked mammals. We have no fangs, no fur, no sharp claws to protect us. So for millennia, since time out of mind, we have been gifted with an intelligence and a self-awareness and a capacity for memory and planning, which is wonderful. It's allowed us to invent many wonderful things and progress a society in many good ways. But when we evolved as those naked mammals with this kind of intelligence, memory, and self-awareness and vulnerability, we evolved in small groups. We lived in small clans and small tribes. We tended to live in small areas until the 1800s and advances in transportation. Very few people ever moved outside of the 50-mile radius of where they were born. Traveling more than 100 miles in any direction was very unusual. The vast majority of people lived, born, died in a relatively small geographical area. So the dangers were known. Within a 100-mile radius, it's pretty easy, it's relatively easy to know what the dangers are, which animals, which plants are poisonous or which plants should be eaten. And if you had an enemy, a neighboring tribe, you knew who it was, and you knew they lived over there, and then you knew how they tended to attack. Now we live in a tribe of 8 billion people. We were hardwired to feel compassionate and caring toward everyone in our tribe when it was a small tribe of a few dozen people, because every member, every family was integral to the survival of the tribe, the clan. We are survived by caring, by being constantly alert to danger and caring for each other in times of danger and change. Now we're in a tribe of 8.5 billion people. When I was in first grade, that number was 2.5 billion. I remember we were taught. Population has tripled, and with it, an expanded sense of caring for everyone and being aware of the dangers for everyone. If there's a storm in Houston, by golly, in Austin and San Antonio, we're aware of it and we're worried about it. But we're also aware when there's a disaster in New York or Gaza or Ukraine or Afghanistan. Wherever in the world there is trouble, there's a crisis, we instantly learn about it on our smartphones, on our TV screens. There's a crawling across the top, danger, caution, alert, breaking news. And our systems are constantly in a state of fight or flight, frozenness with shallow breathing and crouch in a capacity to run from the saber-toothed tiger if need be, or to fight against the snake if need be. But with this generalized sense of fear and change, it's hard to know what to do with this sense of contraction and fear. So the big question is, what can we do? How can we blossom and thrive in a time like this? And the answer is age old. And the answer is one we know. We're just here to remind each other. And that is, as people of faith, we remember the truth of who we are. And that is, we are more than these bodies. We are a consciousness and a spirit that was born long before this body was born and will be alive long after this body dies. And we have the capacity to connect to that infinite self. But how? How do we remember that at a time of generalized fear and anxiety, much less the very real and pointed fear and anxiety that can happen when suddenly your computer doesn't work and you need to get on the Zoomcast and make music? The very real fear and anxiety that comes when you or a loved one gets a diagnosis from the doctor with the horrible cancer word in it and a prognosis that looks grim. The very real fear that comes in knowing, well, blank. You can fill in your own blank. I've got my blanks. Now, that's different from the kind of fear that comes up when someone's pointing a gun at you or has a knife and ready to stab you. That's one kind of fear. That's one kind of change. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the kind of generalized fear that's in our society, the generalized chaos and change surrounding us, and the specific circumstances of a cancer diagnosis, of a loved one dying, of any one number of personal challenges. How could we remember who we truly are when we've forgotten at a time of stress and deep change? I've spoken before here several times about the 4-step process that I use. At first, it's awareness, an awareness grounded in exactly what's happening, and then aligning with acceptance. This accepting whatever it is that we're aware of that's frightening us, and then aligning with spirit, with infinite mind, and allowing the outright perfect outworking. But this morning I'd like to talk about a specific part of that process, and that's the acceptance process. And with a specific personal tool that I use and would like to share with you, and that is facing the 4 directions. I do this almost every morning at sunrise. I get up before the sun and face the 4 directions of the compass and practice this process of acceptance. And I'd like to practice it with you now. Ideally, we'd be standing outside and facing the directions together, but whether you're sitting or standing, whether you know exactly where the south is, east is, doesn't matter. In this moment, spiritually, psychologically, I invite you to join me in facing south. If you can stand and face south, you know where that direction is. I can't because I have to stay in front of my computer. But as we face south, we're facing the direction of summer. We're facing the direction of noon. It's the time of bright light. It's a space of blessing. That blessing is with us at all times. All 4 directions are with us every moment and are acting in every moment. In this moment, we're turning and facing south, the direction of blessing. And as we do so, we feel how richly blessed we are. Breathe into it. Take them in deeply at the heart level. And give thanks. Now we turn a quarter turn and face west. West is the direction of autumn. It's the direction of the setting sun and of mystery. And as we face west, we're invited to let go and face into the truth That every blessing we have, our bodies, our homes, our jobs, our loved ones, is impermanent. We let it go in consciousness and face into the truth of our impending death. This comes with sunset and the coming of the dark, is the awareness that darkness and the unknown and mystery are real and eternal, always present. And we give thanks for this awareness. As difficult as it is, we give thanks for this awareness as we let go and face the change. Then we turn a quarter and face north, the direction of winter, direction of midnight, of darkness, of the challenges we all face. We are aware as we face north that every person, without exception, faces challenges, and we don't get a pass. We too have a challenge. And however present it is, however painful it is, we have the capacity to stand firm and feel rooted in spirit, feel our connection to the earth, feel that we have the capacity to live through this challenge. And we give thanks. And then we turn a quarter, turn again and face east, the direction of the rising sun, of dawn, of spring, of the new life that awaits us in this and every moment. New gifts, new challenge, new awareness, new possibilities arriving in this moment. We open to them, we greet them, we thank them, we receive them. And having gone through the 4 directions, we now turn to the 5th direction, to the inner direction, to the infinite one, the holiness, the sacred. We breathe into the awareness and sink into the precious present moment, now. And hear the words of another poem by Dana Faulds, Let It Go. Take a deep breath. Feel yourself grounded in this moment, in this place, in all 4 directions simultaneously, accepting all that is, and hear the words, let it go. Let go of the ways you thought life would unfold. The plans, the dreams, expectations, let it all go. Save your strength to swim with the tide. The choice to fight what is here before you now will only result in struggle, fear, and desperate attempts to flee from the very energy you long for. Let go. Let it all go. And flow with the grace that washes through your days, whether you receive it gently or with all your quills raised to defend against invaders. Take this on faith. The mind may never find the explanations that it seeks, but you will move forward nonetheless. Let go. And the wave's crest will carry you to unknown shores, beyond your wildest dreams or destinations. Let it all go, and find the place of rest and peace and certain transformation, blossoming now. And now, as we prepare to leave each other in this screen space, in this inner space, we announce to the universe our intention to live from a place of joy and celebration and possibility, and facing and embracing the changes and challenges and the darkness with equal measure of gratitude and taking action from that place of gratitude, as together we are the peace that changes the world one moment one step, one breath at a time. And so it is, so may it be. Amen.